the nipples.
After decades out in the cold, China's creatives are hot property. Chinese artists, fashionistas, designers, and architects are keeping pace with the world's fastest growing economy. This is a nation that's reshaping its approach to style, with ultra-modern innovations sitting side by side with ancient influences. Of all of China's forays into the avant-garde, none is as bold as Beijing's shape-shifting skyline. Lonely Planet author Tyler McNiven climbs the scaffolding to survey the capital's futuristic facelift.
There was a time when architecture in Beijing was more functional than funky, but the economic boom has changed all that. Now there are more remarkable buildings than not. Some of them space age, some of them stylish, others just strange. If you're interested in urban design, there's plenty to see, and I've discovered a way to do it in style. Woo! I've always wanted to ride in one of these things! Yeah! This is the way to get around Beijing! Oh, yeah!
Local guide Gail Thoreau has lived and breathed Beijing for over 10 years. Witnessing the capital's radical transformation from conservative Stalinist-style architecture to flashy modernist design.
This man is a madman! I love it!
Thankfully, there's been an equally powerful drive to preserve many of the city's imperial structures, like Tiananmen Square.
That is it! It is square!
The seeds of the city's sweeping changes were planted during China's economic reforms in the late 70s. But it was the country's eagerness to update its image in the lead-up to the 2008 Beijing Olympics that saw a record number of designer buildings sprout up.
You ever played Elevator Olympics?
What's that?
Racing to the top!
Got you.
We're meeting up with property tycoon Zhan Xing to get a better handle on the architectural changes in Beijing. Along with her husband, Pan Shi, she runs the largest developer of residential and commercial buildings in town.
Well, Beijing was just going through this intense stage of building. So, anybody who's a developer here really had a chance to build something interesting. Even though the city has over 850 years of history, but really what you're seeing now is all built in the last 10 years. Today's technology allows the architects to put their imaginations into reality. You want height, you want different shape, you want round, you want angle, you name it, you can do it. It's not about old Beijing anymore. We're building for the future.
Zhan Xing's developments in Beijing range from upmarket resorts to massive commercial districts, but some of her favorite buildings in town were built by her peers.
So here, Tyler, you have the National Center for the Performing Arts. Quickly, they nicknamed it the egg.
The egg?
From the shape, of course.
Not really a single building, but a cluster of 3. The egg includes an opera house, concert hall, and theater. At night, the semi-transparent skin gives passerbys a glimpse of the performances inside, and there's no door to disrupt its design. Instead, you descend into a sunken plaza, walk through an underwater tunnel, and re-emerge into the foyer.
Holy macaroni! This is phenomenal! This is just huge!
The $450 million building took 6 years to build and has played host to soprano Kirite Kanawa and legendary tenor Jose Carreras.
And here you get the concert hall.
This is it! Sola Figaro, inside the egg of Beijing,
we start to yell and sing with my friend Gail. He's turning pale.
I do turn pale.
I think so. Next stop, a 230-meter high Beijing icon that has captured the imagination of the Chinese people and defied the conventional idea of a skyscraper. Nicknamed Big Shorts by locals, the CCTV headquarters is actually two L-shaped high-rise towers joined together. It cost a whopping $700 million to build.
When you think of Paris, you think the Eiffel Tower. When you think of San Francisco, you think of the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, when you think of Beijing, you start to think of buildings like Big Shorts and the Egg. So they really do work. They have a lasting impression on the psyche.
Our next destination is another of Beijing's newest landmarks. Inspired by Chinese culture, the Penggu building was built to resemble a white dragon and boasts one of the best views in the city.
Let's go inside. I have a surprise for you.
Awesome. Xie.
You've been very nice all day long.
Shucks.
I wanted to give you something special.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. This is the Penggu Hotel where we're at, in the Olympic water cube, the bird's nest. I kind of feel like Godzilla.
I said you'd be nice. Stop joking around.
Okay, sorry.
I show something very special.
Okay.
Here it is. Light.
Oh my gosh! So this is the Olympic water cube, and this is where Michael Phelps won all those medals.
Exactly.
And behind it we have the bird's nest.
The bird's nest is round, and the water cube is square.
Right.
In traditional Chinese geomancy, for feng shui, you always try to combine the square and the circle, as the circle represents the sky, and the square is how the ancient Chinese saw the earth.
So this kind of does embody some of the traditional architecture.
It's hard to imagine that just a decade ago, Beijing was still a city of traditional low-rise hutongs and old-school housing. Now, its hard shell of conservatism seems to have completely shattered. Based on what I've experienced, it's truly the ultimate playground for the modern urban animal, especially if you're watching the city whiz by from a motorcycle sidecar.
While much of China has its head in the history books, Shanghai is just too cool for school. The city has woven its past into its future, preserving old neighborhoods that rub shoulders with ultra-modern skylines. Its position as one of the world's busiest trade hubs makes it the first port of call for everything hip, happening, and now. Lonely Planet author Marika McAdam goes beyond the window dressing to revel in Shanghai chic.
More Hong Kong than Beijing, Shanghai continues to lead the world's fastest changing nation. Its 20 million residents devotees to Western-style consumerism. East met West in the 1800s thanks to trade. And by the 1920s and 30s, Shanghai had thrown off the shackles of its traditional past and developed its own style, embracing the revolutionary ideas of Western art and architecture. By then, Shanghai was renowned as the world's 5th largest city and home to some 70,000 foreigners. Many of the city's new residents hailed from France and gravitated to a neighbourhood known as the French Concession, a settlement gained from China in the late 19th century as spoils of the Opium War. Many of the French colonial houses still remain as a stylish backdrop to modern Shanghai. I'm meeting up with local photographer Decker who's devoted much of his life to capturing these historical landmarks.
Marika, hello. So this is the old China Hand reading room. It is fantastically nostalgic, and I could take one of your books and I could spend hours here.
这个差不多是一家老店了，这个开了15年了，很多客人来都很喜欢这个地方。
Decker is a leading photographer of Shanghai's European architecture. Over the last 30 years, he's published more than 10 books on the subject, and much of his work focuses on the French Concession.
到了80年代以后，开始这个城市开始发展，开始变化，所以你可以看到很多的建筑，有些被拆掉，有些是装修改变，所以那个时候我就比较着急，我就花了很多时间我去 但事实上我拍照的速度是赶不上这个拆房子的速度，是这样。而对于我来讲，我这个30年的这个摄影生涯已经把这个上海的这个所有的变迁都拍下来了，是这样。
The French concession was finally abandoned during the turbulent 1960s. Many of the preserved houses are now privately owned or have been refurbished as restaurants and cafes.
这栋房子也是法租界一个普通的一个这个弄堂里面的一栋房子。
From the 1930s, the French were living here, and then generations of Chinese since. It's a fantastic building.
这栋房子也很漂亮，在我的这个书里面也有的是特别法国风格的，所以很多老房子现在都变新房子，都刷了新的油漆了。我要拍一张。
Yeah, you're right. I think that even though the colours changed, I guess the memories are still the same.
Thousands of colonial buildings were torn down during the city's building boom in the 1990s. In the French concession, around 600 houses have since been designated as heritage sites, silent sentinels to the massive urban redevelopment happening all around them.
Thank you so much for showing me your Shanghai as it is now. I feel extremely privileged. 谢谢.
Shanghai has made a habit of combining the old with the new. Regarded as the trendsetter for the rest of China, Shanghainese women were the first to complement their traditional outfits with Western coats, setting China's fashion world on fire in the 1930s. I'm meeting Elaine Chow, the editor of online style bible Shanghaiist, to find out how the city continues to blend the best of both worlds.
It's really fantastic to see all of these Chinese motifs in the designs.
Yes, there was this time when China's young and fashionable would only embrace the West, but nowadays you see more new designers kind of take these old traditional motifs and put them into their wear.
So it's China chic now.
So I wanted to show you this area. This is Tianzifang on Taikanglu.
I'm starting to learn things and notice things. They're shikumen as well, aren't they?
Yes, but instead of being developed by a real estate developer, this kind of grew organically.
Elaine, are we lost? I feel more disoriented around each corner.
And Tianzifang just sprung up when one artist came and established a boutique. His friends joined him, and suddenly you've got this hip new neighborhood.
It's a beautiful labyrinth. Bingo, Elaine.
Oh.
That's you and me, sister. Shanghai shopping girls.
Oh, these are the old calendar girls given a little neon twist.
See, and they say that the Cantonese eat everything, the Shanghainese wear anything.
As recently as the 1990s, foreign imports were heavily restricted and viewed as culturally damaging to China. Today, with an annual growth of 10% and a population of over 1 billion people, China presents an enormous new market for many international brands. Some of them are old labels that have found a new lease of life in the Middle Kingdom.
Welcome to Barbie World.
Yeah, I picked up on that. This is staggering, but of all the things running through my mind, the biggest one is, why in Shanghai is there a Barbie store this big?
Well, first off, why not? There's just nothing against Barbie here. They're reintroducing one of the world's biggest icons to a completely new market. Barbie's actually gone a bit upmarket these days. There's designers designing for her, bringing her into the modern age. For instance, here's the Patricia Field collection.
Patricia Field of Sex and the City fame.
Yes,
She's come to Barbie World.
She's come to Barbie World, and look at this. Barely any pink to be found.
This is the bag I'm taking with me.
During the early 1900s, Shanghai grew to be the cultural and economic hub of China. A booming trade in tea and silk brought an influx of global travellers. And by the 1930s, Shanghai had a nightlife to rival Paris. When the communists rose to power in 1949, the party came to an end. But the city has recently recaptured its vibrancy. In 2004, Time magazine hailed Shanghai as the most happening city on earth.
So what do you think? Have I convinced you that Shanghai is the capital of style?
Absolutely. I love the way it pulls together all of these eclectic elements and throws them into something new, and you don't really know where it's going or what it's doing, but it makes you want to come back and find out.
I'll drink to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
As a world leader in cutting-edge design, China is looking pretty sharp, and its cosmopolitan cities are home to the hottest contemporary art scene on the planet. But while you might not expect to find modern art in rural China, there is one place that has no reservations about getting in the picture. Lonely Planet author James Bainbridge drops his bags off in a room with an unexpected view.
For thousands of years, painters and poets have been inspired by Guilin's spectacular limestone rock formations. But hidden in the shadows of these natural monoliths is one man's personal art utopia, with the guiding principle of merging art with nature. Deep in the heart of rural Guangxi is a stylish sculpture park founded by a Taiwanese cemetery tycoon. The park is so ambitious that it's nicknamed Yuzi Paradise, which means Fool's Paradise. This is Asia's first contemporary art site, with 200 sculptures on display from artists all around the world. To show me around the park's 1,350 hectares and introduce me to some of the more notable pieces is my guide, Jessica Shi.
Hello, 你好. Just in front of you, this very strange sculpture, we call it strange loops.
Strange loops?
Yes. We all together have 5 big circles and 3 smaller circles. We call it strange loops because the artist said guests can't find the center of the sculpture. Everywhere you stand, this is the center.
Designed as a living museum of cultural heritage, the creators of Yutzi spent a decade developing the park before opening to the public. Since 1997, the place has played host to over 8 international sculpture symposia. Watch out, don't want to be hit by 13 tons. Yutzi's creators are now looking beyond the sculpture park, and work has started on transforming the nearby limestone caves into contemporary art galleries. Is this meant to be a family group?
It looks like family group,
yeah.
But it's like a university harmony.
And you've got people here at different stages of their lives, like young people and then older people, so
yes.
It's about different experiences at different ages.
Yes.
Formerly a private retreat, Yutzi was opened to the public in 2006 and now houses 2 hotels. The Hotel of Modern Arts Libre has 49 bedrooms, with each room featuring one-off pieces by international artists. The building itself is designed as an architectural work of modern art. Yutzi Paradise hosts its own artist village, known as the Homer Atelier, and all the artwork on display is created right here in the park. Specializing in pottery, sculpture and glassblowing, the Atelier's facilities are among some of the largest in the world. Besides offering the tools, Homer Atelier also provides raw materials, expert assistance and management support to visiting artists. With the right credentials, a curious traveller can experience the village as a resident artist. For less artistic visitors like me, you can simply lend a hand to locals like our Gan. Le Jinjiak Ho?
Ho.
Yeah, okay. Argan is a contemporary sculptor who draws inspiration from his travels and observations of daily life.
这是一个时空之门。你知道眼睛是用来做什么吗？是看吗？不是看。脚是看的。
I can relate to that philosophy as a traveller, because with your eyes, you've decided that you want to see something already because maybe you've heard about it, and then when you actually want to go and look at it physically, then you walk to get there. Using materials like metal, wood and marble, his creations require a little bit of imagination.
这代表翅膀，如果在一起都是翅膀，坐在上面， 思考，它
So the mouth will talk up.
yes.
Argan's latest works are inspired by the myths and legends of Egypt. He spent the last few months creating pieces that pay homage to ancient tales.
This is Argan's arc. So where is the arc meant to take us?
你思想得到的地方，它不需要走；你思想达到的极端了以后，它就能走。
This is the first time Argan has tested it, and he's just praying that it's going to float.
Argan has called on his fellow students to perform an ancient Taiwanese ritual. They say it informs their ancestors they're about to set sail and asks them to watch over their safety.
抱着，帮他带2只手。OK。喂。
To find this stylish and serene park in the middle of rural China has been a really spectacular discovery. It's been a really unique experience to meet Argan and spend some time with him. He's a very individual person who has amazing themes in his art. Learning how they make everything in the workshop and then seeing the end result and even launching it on the lake has been amazing.